Hello everyone, welcome back. Tom with Capo Fetish. Today on the channel, we're going to cut loose, let loose a little bit and talk about albums the critics adore, but I don't. Perhaps you don't either. And when we're done, I want you to put these particular type of albums in the comments section. I'd love to hear your comments. So, this could have easily been over 100 titles, but the video would have gone on for hours. So I had to narrow it down to 10, and I don't usually hold on to albums I dislike. So I had to dig deep in my collection for a couple. I went into my wife's collection. So I've got 10 here to mention. Like I said, it could have easily been dozens, but like I said, I don't really hang on to albums I dislike. So here we go. I'm going to start off with the top choice here. One of the top choices for me is the Eagles' Hotel California. So first of all, I've never really understood the hype of Hotel California, that song. From pretty much the get-go, from day one, the song has been on classic radio, every type of radio imaginable, every day since about 1976. And is it because it's a long song? I remember those countdowns back in the day. It would always be the first or the top 10 songs of all time would always be these long, epic songs like Stairway to Heaven, Freebird. Is that part of the infatuation with this track? I don't know. Is it the outro with the dueling guitars? I don't know. But I've never liked the song to begin with. I've never really been a huge Eagles fan. So I like maybe a handful of tracks like Witchy Woman and One of These Nights, but Hotel California I could easily do without hearing again. And the album as a whole, I mean, Life in the Fast Lane, pretty mediocre. What else do we have on here? Victim of Love, just a standard rock song. I kind of like the harmonies on New Kid in Town. That's kind of cool at the end, but you know, I don't know. I've just never been a big fan of Don Henley. I really haven't. And at this point in the Eagles' career, it's kind of like Henley has now become the CEO of this brand name, and they never stop touring. And how much money do they really need at this point, right? They have enough money to live 20 lifetimes at this point. So Eagles' Hotel California, critics may adore it, but I don't. An album that has picked up steam in the coming decades, or the previous decades. Initially when it came out, got a lot of bad reviews, but all of a sudden everybody's just creaming over this album, and I don't understand it. I have tried getting into this album several times over the past few decades. There's a few songs I like on it, but come on, really? The hype it gets, the 5-star reviews, I don't think so. I'm talking about Paul McCartney's Ram album. I know a lot of people love this album. I just find this album kind of like, it's like a combination of just half-baked rockers and then that cutesy Paul stuff, which I can't stand. There's just not a lot of depth to this record. I mean, comparison with like Lennon stuff, and I know Lennon created a lot of crap too with those Yoko Ono collaborations, but you know, I always felt that Lennon and Harrison had way more depth than McCartney. McCartney definitely had the melodic gifts, and the stuff he did with the Beatles is first-rate songwriting, but his solo stuff is really patchy. I mean, it really is. Always has been for me. There's songs here and there I like throughout his career, but I don't understand the 5-star reviews now for this album after this many years. I do like the Uncle Albert. Is that what it is? Hold on here. Yeah, Uncle Albert, Admiral Halsey. That is kind of a cool little tune. And Too Many People is a cool little tune. But Ram On and Ram On Reprise, The Backseat of My Car. I do not like those cutesy Paul McCartney tunes at all. A lot of people would call them granny songs, but I don't know. I've tried several times to get in this album, and I cannot get into this album, and perhaps I never will. I'll keep it in the collection because it's McCartney. I only have maybe about 5 or 6 McCartney albums in my collection, but I'll keep it in there. It's on the original Apple label, but I don't care for this album. Ram, Paul McCartney. It's a shame when people bring up the name Peter Gabriel. I think most of the population, except for the diehards and the real fans, when they hear the name Peter Gabriel, they always think of this album here. So, which is completely unrepresentative of really who Peter Gabriel was as an artist. Coming off those, 4 amazing albums he did with Genesis, Trespass is one of them, but Foxtrot, Nursery Crime, Selling England by the Pound, Limelight on Broadway, and those first 3 or 4 amazing solo albums. I mean, I kind of respected Peter Gabriel for going a little commercial here. He did it his own way and everything, but I don't know. Some of these songs are just kind of dated at this point. In Your Eyes, Sledgehammer sounds like a Steve Winwood tune from the 80s. Don't Give Up. I've never liked that vocal by Kate Bush on there. Big Time. There's only about 2 songs on here I've always liked. Mercy Street is great. And That Voice Again, but I don't know. I just think this album is overhyped, and the critics think it's just the bomb. Compare this album to this one. Now, this is a 5-star masterpiece right here. Peter Gabriel 3, the Melt album. This has nothing to do with this style right here. This is more of a, I'm going to go commercial and try to sell some units. But yeah, I never need to hear So again in my life. And be honest with you, I've never liked anything after this album that Peter Gabriel has put out. It's all very bland. I heard the last album, the latest album, and it's just a snooze fest to me. And it's unfortunate because I love his stuff with Genesis, and I love his early solo stuff. But, you know, I think there's really a window with a lot of artists, about maybe 6-7 years, where they create amazing stuff, and then they just kind of fall flat, you know. And that goes for a lot of artists. Nobody can keep writing pop and rock songs forever and keep coming up with quality. It's impossible. Jazz artists are different, blues artists. Pop and rock is a whole different story. So that's another album there. The critics love, I do not like. Another one is this album here. Came out in 1979. There was so much hype about this album. People were just going nuts about this. I never understood the hype of this album. And that is Pink Floyd's The Wall album. Comfortably Numb's a cool track. Great solo by David Gilmour. I like Goodbye Blue Sky, but the rest of it is just, I don't know. It just lacks any kind of soul. I find it depressing. I saw the film, and I never thought the film was anything. It was just boring. I don't know. I just find this just very dreadful sounding, very boring, and soulless. Just absolutely soulless. And I don't understand the hype of this album. And I know other people feel this way. I'm not the only one. I've seen other reviews of this album. But yeah, could never get into this. And that's another one on the list. A lot of people are going to hate me for this, but I respect this artist for doing her own thing. And she's very unique and everything, but she's never put out anything that's ever touched me in any kind of way. I'm talking about Patti Smith, the Horses album here. I know it's regarded as one of the greatest albums of all time. I've tried over decades trying to get into this, could never get into it. I have a few of her other albums. I tried getting into those. She's just never appealed to me on a soulful level or kind of an intellectual level. But I do respect her for her uniqueness. There was really nobody like her before this album came out. A lot of people have been influenced by her, but I have never been able to get into Patti Smith or this Horses album. And that is another one on the list, folks. Another one, too, is Alanis Morissette, Jagged Little Pill from 1995. Everybody was so into this when it came out because it was so provocative and so, the language and everything. But I think somebody else did a little better 2 years prior. Her name was Liz Phair, the Exile in Guyville album. This, to me, blows away Jagged Little Pill by a mile. Another thing about Alanis Morissette, I cannot stand her voice. And I don't know. I don't think it's dated real well after about 30 years. And anytime I hear any of these songs, I just cringe when they come on the radio. So Alanis Morissette, Jagged Little Pill, another critic's favorite, but I do not like. Another thing, too, I'm really tired of the past 10, 15 years is all the Queen hype. I've never really been a Queen fan. I do respect them as musicians. Freddie Mercury was a very charismatic performer, very humorous. But man, if I hear, what is that track? How am I even forgetting what the track is here? Bohemian Rhapsody, one more time, I'll freak. I've always thought it was over the top. Just, I mean, it's clever and everything, but I don't know. I just always thought Queen in general was over the top. Everything they did was just, I don't know. A lot of these tunes on here, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I've just never been a Queen fan. This is probably their most highly rated album. And it's something that I've never really been intrigued by, the whole Queen fascination. And I mean, when you look at the streams and if you go on Spotify and look at all the streams that Queen have had, I think they're number one for rock streams. It's quite amazing. I think the movie helped, that biopic a few years ago. and just all the fascination with Freddie Mercury and everything. But the music of Queen has never really done a whole lot for me, and this is their most highly rated album, and I've never liked it. Another one too, oh my God, when this album came out, everybody was acting like it was the second coming, right? I was already into this band in the early 80s. I thought they never did anything better than their first album. It was flawless, absolutely seamless. I have never liked the Joshua Tree by U2. I think it's the most pretentious, pompous shit ever. Where the Streets Have No Name. I haven't found what I'm looking for. With or Without You. Oh, God. There's just something about it. And they, it seems like they were really, really just hung on getting that American audience. After Boy, October, and War, they really, really, really ramped up this America fascination to appeal to the American audience. There's this guy on this channel called 10-Minute Reviews. I really like this channel on YouTube, and he really put it right with U2. It's like their whole persona and vibe changed after Unforgettable Fire going forward. They just wanted to appeal to American audiences, and they did. And that Irish roots that they had early on, that kind of uniqueness kind of went away, and they were just kind of pandering to the U.S. audience. And this is an album I could never stand, and people back in the day were just foaming at the mouth over this, and never liked it. Critics still love it. It's still their most highly rated album in their discography. Another one, too, that people have been trying to get me into for years, and I love this artist, and I love all the artists he played with. Gene Clark, incredible songwriter. I love the album White Heat, the stuff that he did with, other bands and stuff. But I've tried getting into this album, but I just can't. I can't, for some reason, get into No Other. I've tried. I cannot hear a hook or anything that sticks with me. Is it just me? Probably is. But a lot of people seem to think that this is just a 5-star masterpiece. But I just can't get into it for some reason. I don't understand why. I'll keep trying. But another hyped up album that I can't get into. Critics love it. I don't. And the last one on the list is, I love his early stuff, this artist. But by this time, I'd really had enough. I find this album, it just doesn't do a damn thing for me. Critics love it. And from here on in, I really lost interest in Bruce Springsteen. I do not like the Nebraska album. I've tried, but these songs just do nothing for me. It was kind of starting with The River a little bit. I like the first album. I like Greetings from Asbury Park, The Wild, the Innocent, The East Street Shuffle, Born to Run. I almost said Born Again. Born to Run. And I like Darkness on the Edge of Town and Parts of the River. But this one right here just falls flat for me. Critics love it. I do not. And that is it, folks. Enough ranting and raving. Let me know what your albums that you disagree with the critics are in the comment section. Let me know. I'm really curious. Albums the critics adore, but you don't. Let me know. Thanks for watching. As always, if you dig this the content, please press subscribe, and we'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.